Okay. So, sampling techniques. How do you get your people for your sample? SRS. Stratified. Cluster. Simple random sample. Voluntary response sample, right? Convenience sample, whatever is convenient. Voluntary response, I send out surveys to everybody, and whoever wants to respond back, sends it back to me.
Or calling?
Or online. When you are online and those pop up, do you think Brad Pitt is hot? Yes or no? Voluntary response. Do you want to respond? Do you not want to respond? When elections was going on, that was coming up a lot. Elections, those pop-ups. Yes? No? You get them? I got them. Who are you going to vote for? Simple random sample. SRS. What do we always say in our condition? Stratified random sample. When we have strata, I separate freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, and to collect data. Separate between race, white, black, Hispanic, other. Cluster. I take groups, heterogeneous groups of blocks. If I separated into homerooms, we have homeroom here, right? At the beginning of school. You guys have your one homeroom teacher that you go for one day to get your schedule and then never see them again. They separate it by class, right? And I take those homerooms. They're all mixed. And I use the whole homeroom as my sample. Instead of taking my large group of freshmen and collecting 20 of them, I take one classroom of freshmen. And it's already set. Voluntary response sample. People self-select to be part of the sample. Usually what happens is you feel strongly about something, you say your opinion. If you really don't care, then you don't give an opinion. Correct? Yeah. That's what usually happens in voluntary response. So you either have a lot of people that go one way or a lot of people go the other way. You don't really have anyone in between that's going to pick one. Phone-in polls. Internet polls. Experiments are often voluntary response. I know at UCF, the psychology department does a lot of stuff where they ask the students, hey, can you come do this experiment for us? I know I did one when I took a psychology class. It was required, I think, for us to do. Convenience sample. It's exactly what it sounds like. Whatever's convenient for you. Here, when you guys have your final project at the end of the year, you're going to have to either do surveys or do an experiment, and the people you're going to use are here on campus. More convenient, yes, than to go to the Florida Mall and ask people to answer your survey. Even though Florida Mall's closed, school's closer, and you can do that during lunch. Ask the people who are most convenient to you. Friends. Proximity. Mall surveys. Those are all convenient. Whereas if you wanted to find something about all people living in Orlando, you would have to go to all parts of Orlando to find out. And not go to just the Florida Mall, but the Millennium Mall and the Altamont Mall and in Orlando. It's Fashion Square Mall. Simple random sample. Everyone's name goes in a hat, and then what do? Shake it up. Draw one name at a time until you have your desired sample size. Or you can assign everyone a number. do the random digit table. Or like some creepy kid on the AP exam last year said, cut off people's thumbs. Pick out the thumbs from.
How do you recognize the thumb?
As long as he said, I think he didn't say shake up the thumbs, so he didn't get connected. But he had to shake up the thumbs.
So you shake up the thumb, and then you put it on, and then to find out whose it is, you check the DNA.
Right.
I get an E.
Please don't be one of those people.
I wouldn't do that. That same example.
Can also be done with a random digit table, a random digit generator. You guys know how to do that on your calculator. Your calculator does that for you. We've been doing a lot of labs that randomly assign numbers. Give everyone a number and see who comes out through random digit table or your calculator. Stratified random sample. Split into homogeneous groups. Take an SRS from each group. So once I separate my freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, then from my freshman group I pick 10, sophomores pick 10, and do an SRS within the stratified sample. So I've named all my freshmen, numbered them, shook them up in a hat, picked out 10 names. Then I do it for my sophomores. Write their names, put them in the hat, shake them, pick out 10. And then make your own trail mix. What's Miss Kramer? Who wrote that? What's she mean? Anybody?
Yeah.
What's she mean by make your own trail mix?
Because you have like peanuts, M&Ms, raisins, and then put them together. Then you take a stratified random sample. Sure.
What did we say? Chocolate cherries.
Chocolate cherries. Well, I'm not here to talk about chocolate cherries.
Yeah, it's just
Where did you go?
Cluster. I think you went to the video. And Chris?
So the break's over, right?
We got lost.
chocolate cherries.
Split into convenient, heterogeneous groups. Select a few groups and use everyone in that group, like I was talking about homerooms. Store-bought trail mix, rather than making your own trail mix. These three are more common with surveys than with experiments. Why do you think? If I wanted to do an experiment on people with a cold or people with allergies,
Could you want like a certain answer?
I need people with colds. Like I said, experiments are usually voluntary. People volunteer to do the experiment. You can't just say, hey, come take these drugs from me. Wow. You're sick. You're sick. I need to give you this new drug that I came up with. This new NyQuil. No. Experiments, they have to have the symptoms for whatever you're doing. So experiments, usually you need to use people that are up for doing the experiment. Surveys, I can easily pull kids out of class, take all my freshmen, take 10 names, and then ask them questions. Rather than say, I have an experiment for you. What is bias? When the design of a survey or experiment causes certain outcomes to be systematically favored. That's the definition of bias.
Would we have to define that in
I don't think so, but I think you guys can come up with your own definition.
Yeah.
You're, huh?
Oh.
You don't know how to come up with your own definition? If I conducted a survey about people's favorite television programs and I used a convenience sample that I gathered at a nursery home. Why is that biased? Think of those television shows that are going to be watched. What are the favorite television programs at a nursing home? Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy.
Of course I
Yeah, I watched Jeopardy.
Huh?
I love Jeopardy.
Jeopardy. What else? I don't know. What else do people watch?
Cheers.
Talk shows.
That's the one.
Which one?
Cheers.
Cheers. Days
They
of
have
Our
like
Lives.
this television program where they play all old shows.
Okay. TV Land?
So what you watch?
No. It would be biased. You can't say that everyone's favorite television programs and then go to a nursing home and just say, take all the old people's favorite TV shows, because it's not going to be the same for everybody. Common sources of bias are under coverage and non-response. Wording of the question. How you state the question does a lot to your survey. You can give a fact, or you can persuade people to say something. You can and then, trying to think. And we're going to talk about non-response and under coverage, because those are the two that we always get mixed up with. Under coverage is when some groups of the population are left out of the process of choosing the sample. They didn't get a chance to reply. Non-response is when an individual chosen for the sample cannot be contacted or refuses to cooperate. So, if I'm conducting a survey of high school age students and students who dropped out is under coverage. Students, for non-response, it's students that were absent the day of the survey. I couldn't contact them because they weren't here at school. Or there's also some students that will not do the survey. Tell them do this, here's a pencil, and they don't.
Unless they pull you out of class and force you to do a senior survey during your English class. Then in that case.
I wonder if anyone still doesn't want to. No? You have to do it.
Well,
You have to do
they
it.
kind of force it.
And if you don't, then they wait for you.
Yeah.
They wait for you. They wait for me. They waited.
And also, when that happens, you don't get your real results from a survey, because then when you're forced to do something, you just sometimes
it's
like
just
A, or all, whatever they're fair, 4, whatever your rating. You really don't care, and then you get results that are not so good. What is the difference between an observational study and an experiment? Mark? You impose treatment. You told these people to do something, these people to do something. You didn't just observe what happened, it's something that you told them to do. Impose treatments. An observational study sees what happens anyway, and an experimental unit is the smallest unit I apply a treatment to, individual shrimp or the tank of shrimp. Or is it the individual shrimp or the tank of shrimp? Go back. Smallest unit I apply a treatment to. So the individual shrimp.
Or in some cases.
Actually, I think it's
Or large.
I think it's the take control. Because I don't Miss Kramer actually said that.
It can be either or. Depending on the wording of the question. If the question states a shrimp, then that's.
But if I'm doing an experiment to see if I feed a certain type of shrimp, how much do they grow? Your experimental unit is their shrimp.
Sure.
I mean, I use a tank of shrimp to feed them, and I'm gonna give tank A this type of food, tank B this type of food, tank C this type of food.
Like a box of those cherries.
Did you give cherries to shrimp?
Let's just say you had some bad times.
Is it the cherry or the
That's interesting.
some good times?
Subjects are experimental units. If you're talking about humans, they're subjects. Factors, levels, and treatments. Factors are the actual variables we are testing. Levels are the values each of the variables can take on. Treatments are the combination of those factors. So, sorry. I said, what's that? 11, 10, 20? No, I feel like that's too late. Is it?
Yeah.
10, 20.
Yeah.
So what happens when people are slow?
Like hives.
That you get
Hives. Can't touch it. I'm not gonna like
Can I go?
That's just easy. Let's just come back.
What?
So a treatment is a combination of levels and factors, or?
Treatments are the combination, of the
What?
biggest example I remember was with the shrimp. I'm gonna give you an example in a second. While creating a new cupcake recipe, I decide to conduct a little experiment. I get several boxes of cake mix. To each box, I either add the ingredients listed in the directions or I modify by adding a cup of pudding. In addition, I either bake at the recommended temperature in amount of time, I cook at a lower temperature for additional 5 minutes, or I cook at a higher temperature for 5 minutes less. What are my factors, my levels, and my treatments?
Okay.
Treatments is you either do the ingredients listed on the directions or you modify it.
Yeah.
Treatments is, let's start with, that's factors.
What?
Factors. Factors is my ingredients and bake time. / temperature.
Oh, okay. Treatments is the combination of them, right?
Treatments is a combination of all of them.
Okay.
Levels is
Temperature.
temperature. That one was an easy one to tell. Normal, low and slow, or high and fast. And then also, these are my levels. Treatments is the combination. I have my normal ingredients with normal bake time, low and slow, high and fast. And then with my added pudding, normal, low and slow, high and fast. So how many different treatments do I have?
12.
Or, I have 6 different treatments.
So you're saying one factor ingredients and the level, like the level of that factor?
The level
would be
of
the
factor
normal or add
is,
pudding?
right.
Okay.
Oh, that's 6.
6.
It's 3 times
2 by
2 is
3.
6.
Proceed.
Placebo is a dummy treatment that can have no physical effect. Placebo.
Let's go.
Placebo. control group is the group that receives the placebo or no treatment. In an experiment, it's very important to have. Usually, you need a control group to compare something of a new.
What?
And to keep it on.
Freaking out. It allows you to see what would happen anyway. Sometimes we have the placebo effect. I say, here, take this blue pill. It'll make your headache go away. And magically, the headache goes away even though there's nothing in the pill. It's just what you think. This is going to help me, so it helps me, even though there's nothing really in the pill. So that's why you need to have a control group. Can I go? No, I'm sorry. Know the characteristics of a well-designed experiment and a well-conducted experiment. Control is the effect of lurking variables by comparing multiple treatments and keeping all other conditions identical. So we don't have lurking variables. Randomly assign your treatments. Replicate the treatments groups on many subjects. And here are all the other terms important in experiments. Double blind. What does double blind mean?
It's like neither the
When you don't
person
know
like
if you got a
testing.
experimenters don't know.
They both get the placebo.
The experimenters and the experimentees don't know who has the treatments. There's a middleman that knows everything, but he's not involved with the experiment. Block design.
That's like when you have like a population and you like separate it, right?
You separate it after you have your sample. I used to get block design and stratified confused because it's pretty much the same thing. But stratified is how I picked my sample, and then block design is how I separate within the group of sample I already have.
So like males or females?
Right, males or females.
Or
Age.
Or age? Okay.
Age groups. I'm blocking. But it's not how I pick the people, it's the people I already have in my sample, and now I'm blocking it. So you can have a stratified and then block design. Because I could separate by grade 9, 10, 11, 12, and then separate males and females within each grade.
Sweet.
And then match pairs.
So you and a twin, or you yourself.
You and your twin, or are you comparing you and yourself? Time. I always use the same example. Running. I run, on a normal basis. How fast do I run? And then I take these magic vitamins and drink more water and make me go faster.
All of a sudden
I'm comparing the results to myself. Or I have two twins or two people that run at the same speed constantly. I decided to conduct an experiment on the effects of a new fertilizer on lima bean plant growth. I get a sample of 20 lima beans and randomly split them into two groups. I plant each lima bean in a small cup with some dirt, put them all in the same amount of sunlight, and water them with the same amount of water with some watering can.
From the same.
My eyes are new. For those of you who don't know, I just had eye surgery, so that's why I'm using that excuse.
You see better.
What about the other
You see better with some words.
Well, it's still fluctuating. And so for 6 months.
Dang.
Yeah.
When you drive and stuff?
Oh, yeah.
When you drive and it's like blurry out.
Shit.
She can drive it.
Watch out. No, I'm kidding.
Road, you mentioned road rage? Like you see something at a certain point.
She's got thermal imaging.
It's like, oh, I didn't know the car was there.
One group of lima beans is fertilized with this new fertilizer, and the other group receives no special fertilizer. Since I feel bad for the unfertilized lima beans, I decide to sing Soft Kitty. So that before I leave my classroom at the end of 4 weeks, I measure the amount of plant growth and compare the fertilized and unfertilized groups.
What is soft kitty?
Big Bang Theory.
Soft kitty. Happy kids.
Did I properly randomize and why?
Wait.
No way.
You didn't get a random.
That was some bedtime lullabies.
It just says you get a sample.
I'm worried about randomly assigning
Okay. Randomly assigning treatment?
Well, yes. Randomly split two.
Never mind. What was your question?
Randomization. Is randomization okay?
Um,
I randomly split them into two groups.
yeah, but you don't
Well, you
randomly
don't-
select samples.
But wouldn't you need a control? Because I know this is gonna sound a little weird, but for example, you gave the fertilizer to one group and then you're singing to the other, but you need a group that you're not singing to fertilizing.
And what if the other plant he used?
Huh?
What if the other plant here?
I mentioned the singing because, like, if you look at it from a scientific point of view, like, supposedly if you talk to
It's
plants,
true,
they
like,
grow
if
faster.
they're in the same
So then
place,
that's what I'm saying, you need to control it because if that's true, then the singing is going to have an effect on the
The
plant.
singing could have an effect on the plant.
Believe it or not.
You never know.
Because they
Yeah,
say
because
that
you
it's
should test it.
It's like the opposite of us. Like plants give us oxygen and we throw out to it. Yeah. So when you speak to it, it's a science thing. I'm sorry. I'm not a scientist, but hey. So supposedly they grow faster. If you
There's a
talk to them
statistic
because of the
You need
oxygen.
to try this.
We can,
Try this for your final project.
The point is.
We have a final project?
What is
You still have a final project.
What do you mean?
Yes,
For my final project, can I ask like who drives my shoes and without shoes?
Yeah.
Why plant now?
I'll let you ask when the time comes.
Take you to school.
Huh?
Do you drive my shoes and without?
What do you think? Who drives without shoes?
Yeah. So I mean, they randomly split them into two groups. That was good. But like Rancis said, we should have probably had a control group. Anything else we see problems? Any other problems we see in this experiment?
She said,
Well, just with the sample.
With the whole in general.
What was your question?
When you're analyzing the experiment, I go at everything. I would say it says I get a sample. It's not a random sample of 20 lima beans. I would say that I don't have a control group. What else? Are we okay? I think everything answers.
Heated one?
Yeah, maybe you could use up water or something, but hey,
You need to repeat it after the end of the 4 weeks, then you do another experiment
with a different set.
with a different set of lima beans.
Maybe you might want to try.
Replication.
Yeah.
Do I have enough lima beans in each treatment group?
And you might want to try other
But here with replication, I can't just use one lima bean in one treatment. Then I can't compare it to anything. I can't see if that just one special lima bean has some special growth. I don't know. For some reason, that one vitamin will grow faster.
Musically inclined.
It's musically inclined. I don't know. So you have to have more than one or two beans in each treatment group.
I'm sorry,
Replication.
that was a good one.
And did I eat coffee control? We already talked about. How many factors?
How many factors?
What are my? How many factors do I have?
Is it just one?
Plants.
Fertilizer?
Fertilizer,
Sunlight, water,
Isn't it
watering.
singing?
water. No, that's all the same though. The water and the sunlight was all the
Yeah, it
same.
was so it's basically the fertilizer and the singing of the song.
And then singing. How many levels?
Whoa.
2.
2 for each.
It's either fertilizer, no fertilizer, and singing or no singing.
Wait, but she's saying, like, you see that she's saying.
She only sang to unfertilized ones.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not.
Shut up, I'm trying to pay attention.
It's really only one level. Wouldn't it be? Only one level.
Well, one option is she doesn't sing one, but she doesn't.
But she did sing. So she sang to the unfertilized. So it's like carrying out two, like, there's no control.
Right.
Oh, I don't know how to write that, but.
Well, it's not.
So I'm pretty close to it.
So my factors, fertilizer. Levels, it's either no fertilizer or fertilizer. And then treatments.
Wait, but
And then the singing is a factor.
Is a factor as well.
Yes,
But wouldn't the
it is a
levels
factor.
have to only include what you actually did? For example, I mean, I know you have the option of singing or no singing, but she sang.
Only to the, so it's yeah, because she only sang, if you only sing to the unfertilized and you didn't, that's not an available treatment to the new fertilizer.
Oh, so then that's what I okay.
And then my treatments are just new fertilizer, no fertilizer, and singing. Alright. There are a few ways to improve upon a completely randomized design. The ability to have a greater degree of control over lurking variables. You can always make an experiment better. You read an experiment, there's always something you can think of to make it better. Block design is a group of experimental units that are known to be similar in some way that is to be expected to systematically affect the response to treatment. For example, separate subjects by sex, gender, females, grow faster than males, females, what else? Smaller feet than males.
Longer hair.
Well, but that's because we choose to keep our hair long. I don't know. You could do an experiment and see if guys' hair actually grows faster than girls, and they just decide to cut it. Separate into blocks and randomly assign treatments within each block. You talked about that. Match pairs, many blocks, 2 in each block. One gets a treatment, one gets the other. There can only be 2 treatments. I could be my own twin, and I'm done.
Alrighty. We still have 40 minutes.
Well, then we're gonna do practice.
Oh. Oh.
Question, we already talked about that. Any questions? Alright, go ahead and go on break. Be back. Not by, I'm not by 11:25. 11:20. No.
Oh, that's 7 minutes.
If I can